The morning comes without color. Frost grips the window seams, and the air inside the shack hasn't moved since night. He opens his eyes to the small sounds of the walls settling, the stove long gone cold. The blanket is stiff at the edges, frozen where his breath met the cloth. He sits up slowly, bones clicking in the quiet. Outside, the world holds still under the weight of Siberian dawn. The river lies silent beneath its glass shell, and a thread of gray light filters through the smoke hole above the stove. He pulls on his coat, stiff as hide, and steps outside. Snow compresses under his boots. The cold no longer shocks him. It seeps steady and endless. Another day begins, and the first thought is not of time, but of work. Firewood, water, something to eat before hunger settles deep into the body. The shack stands a few meters from the frozen river, its walls patched with bark and canvas. Smoke stains spread along the planks like old watermarks. Inside, the air smells of ash, damp fur, and cooked smoke. The iron stove sits in the center, blackened from years of fire. He starts the day the same way, behind the shack. The axe waits buried in frost. He pries it free and begins to chop. Each swing cuts short and dull. The sound swallowed by snow. Splinters freeze before they fall. The breath hardens against his beard, crusting white. When the pile grows high enough for a day or two, he carries the wood inside, each arm trembling from the weight. Next, he climbs the roof to clear ice, pressing his knees into the frozen boards. The shovel handle burns against bare skin where the glove has worn through. The snow slides off in heavy slabs, thudding softly into the drift below. Down at the river, he checks the traps, their cords stiff with frost. He breaks the thin ice that seals overnight, the water flashing black beneath the surface. His wife boils snow for water. The boy sits close to the stove, face pale, eyes half-lidded with sleep. No one speaks. The day runs on in motion alone, measured, necessary, and cold. By midday, the firewood stack is smaller than he remembers. The sacks that once held dried meat and fish are empty except for salt dust and threadbare cloth. The shelves show bare wood and dust where food once was. He sits near the stove, counting. What remains? A handful of flour hardened by moisture, 1 jar of melted fat, and a few dry roots. The pot boils slow, half full of thin broth. They eat without sound. Each bite small, steady, and meant to last. When the pot is empty, he wipes it clean with snow, sets it aside, and ties the lid with rope. The season's ration is gone. There will be no more trade, no travel, no stored meals until thaw. Outside, the wind climbs from the north, pushing at the walls. He looks toward the river, the only place left where effort might still feed them. He sharpens the old hand auger by the stove. The edge is uneven from years of ice, but it still cuts. Metal dust gathers on the table. He tests the blade with his thumb, wipes it clean on his sleeve, and packs it with a hatchet, a coil of rope, and the worn fishing net folded tight against the sled. The river waits under white silence. Snow lies heavy, muffling every sound. His boots sink deep. The air so dry it stings his throat. He chooses a place where the current slows and starts to drill. The first turns go smooth. Then the ice hardens. Each twist sends pain through his wrists. The auger screeches, catches, and freezes. He leans in, shoulders shaking. The handle burns with cold through the gloves. When the hole opens, black water breathes upward. Steam lifts and vanishes into the air. He lowers the net, weighted with stones, and spreads it under the ice. The rope rubs raw against his palm. He waits. The wind moves across the river, carrying fine snow that gathers in his beard. His stomach folds in on itself, empty and tight. He checks the rope, nothing. Pulls again. Nothing. The hours stretch thin. The sun rises pale and gives no heat. He stamps his feet to feel them, swings his arms to keep blood moving. Frost creeps into the joints of the auger. It grinds when he moves it. By dusk, the world blurs with white and cold. His hands no longer close properly. Each finger burns, then goes numb. He leaves the rope anchored to a stick and marks the spot with a branch. The hole darkens as frost begins to seal it. He turns home through the wind. The sled drags behind him, empty. At first light, he returns to the river. The wind has buried the hole beneath a crust of snow. He clears it with the shovel, each scrape echoing flat across the ice. The water shows black again. The rope is frozen into a ridge of frost. He bends, breaks it loose, and begins to pull. The line holds fast, stiff as wire. He leans back, planting his boots deep. The rope shudders once, then moves. Something heavy shifts below, slow, deliberate. The ice groans. His gloves soak through. The cold bites straight to the bone. He wraps the line around his forearms and heaves, each pull tearing through the silence. The ice splits wider. A dark mass swirls beneath the surface. Then it rises, a sturgeon, broad as his chest, silver gray and ancient. It thrashes once, slamming against the edge. Water sprays across his coat, freezing where it lands. He drags the fish out, the rope tight across his waist, his body bent low with the weight. The fish stills. Its size fills the air. Its mass pulling the rope deep into the snow. Steam lifts from its skin and fades into the wind. For a moment, everything stops, the river, the air, even his breath. He kneels, knife ready. One quick cut at the gills, clean and practiced. The blood runs thick and dark, freezing where it touches the ice. He secures the catch to the sled and pulls his coat over it. The wind rises again, sweeping the surface smooth. As he turns for home, frost begins to close over the hole, slow, silent, erasing what was taken. The sled groans across the packed snow, his breath crust on his collar. The sturgeon's body stiffens beneath the coat, its weight pulling the sled sideways with each step. The wind drags at his coat until the shack comes into view, smoke barely rising from the pipe. He knocks frost from the door and drags the catch inside. The room fills with the smell of cold air and iron. His wife lifts the tarp, eyes tracing the shape of the fish, then reaches for the knife. They move without words. The boy feeds the fire until the stove glows red. The knife slips once, scraping against bone, a sharp sound in the silence. Fat spits into the fire, smoke rising and clinging to the ceiling. Strips of meat hang from hooks above the stove. Turning pale in the heat, snow melts from their clothes, dripping onto the floor and mixing with ash. He wipes the water with his sleeve, then sits by the stove. The heat stings at first, then settles deep into the skin. When the work is done, they pack the meat in salt and hang what's left to dry. The smoke thins and the air turns still again. Outside, the wind sounds softer. The warmth feels temporary, but enough. They eat slowly, steady without waste. Morning returns gray and still. Frost crawls back over the window seams. The fire burns low, its last coals dim and dry in the stove. He rises before the others, pulls on his coat and steps outside. The river lies silent again. Wind has swept away every trace of yesterday's work. Only a faint ridge of ice shows where the hole once was. He stands there for a moment, breathing slow, then turns back toward the shack. The sled rests by the wall, rope coiled neatly on top. He lifts the axe, checks the edge with his thumb, and walks to the woodpile. The first swing lands clean. Steam lifts from the split and disappears into the air. Another morning begins. The same cold, the same work. The only rhythm that keeps life moving beneath this endless sky.